Good morning and welcome to the Monday Morning Marketing Podcast. I'm Esther.
And I'm Melanie.
And today we're talking about Twitter Spaces. What is it? Who has it? And how is it different from Clubhouse? So this is a relatively new function inside Twitter. So it's not a separate app. It's not a separate platform or anything. It's inside Twitter. It's directly in at the top of your mobile device screen. And you will see where the fleets are, or the Twitter stories, as if you don't know the terminology for fleets. And it turns into a purple circle when somebody is on there live talking. So we discovered these a few weeks ago, and we're able to jump in and join a few of the spaces when people were talking and hosting a space. But recently, Melanie and I were both granted the opportunity to be hosts in the beta phase by Twitter themselves. Okay, so this is, we're very proud of this fact. Okay, so Melanie, what can you tell our audience about Twitter Spaces in the few short days that you have been able to host?
Well, first of all, for those of you that can't understand what Esther has just said, she's just said that we're part of the beta phase, not beta.
Here she goes again. Never
fails. No. Quite seriously. You're quite right about the fleets, but I actually found I had access to Twitter Spaces, not from my fleets, because I don't post as frequently in fleets as maybe some people do, but I do post fairly frequently from my phone, using the sort of little feather where you can add messages, and in there, when you click on that, and you have to hold it down, you get the option to either create a tweet just with text, add a GIF, or once you've got it, use and create a Twitter space. So for some of you, you may notice it when you're going to share a fleet, and for others, it's when you're going to share an actual tweet.
Yeah, but I was sort of coming at it from the if you don't know where to find them, not how to start one. But we'll get to that point, Mel. We're very excited. We'll get to that point. We actually hosted one the other day, and we were all excited to talk about having spaces inside our space. But yeah, there's a limited number of people who can actually host the spaces. It was rolled out to about 300 hosts, first of all.
So you can only have 10 people at a time. You can scroll them as you change them. I did a bit of a test a few days ago with a lady called Margaret Malloy, who's trying to ascertain how it works, just for the purpose of running an event, which she's running today, actually, International Women's Day. And so she wanted to sort of trial it out with a few people. She's got some of her staff up there, and then she got some, guests to come up and down, and it was really interesting actually, because as we were going through, we were kind of troubleshooting how to use a fleet, use a space even, and there's going to be more and more people out there that are going to be running, just like they do on Clubhouse, these special training days, I suppose, on how to use Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, and when you go into your Twitter now, it's only recently been rolled out to Android users as well. It did start just like Clubhouse being iOS only, and Android users couldn't even see when other people were in spaces. Now they can see them, but Android users at the time of this recording are still not eligible to be hosts. Okay, so that is one of the major differences between Twitter and Clubhouse, in that Clubhouse has yet to launch being able to use it on Android. So Android users will now all jump into Twitter Spaces and be able to speak in them. They'll be able to listen. They'll be able to do a lot of stuff inside Twitter Spaces except start their own space. Okay, so that's important to remember at the moment. Yeah. I won't doubt that Clubhouse will come up with this very quickly now that Twitter has beaten them to it. But we're talking today about Spaces, and it is audio only, which is great for people like myself, who by the time, we all remember by now that I don't like going live on video. I don't mind doing live things. You also cannot record them, as far as I know.
Not yet,
just like Clubhouse, you cannot record unless you have explicit consent. And even then, I wouldn't even.
No, that's
even
just a private ruling. I'm not sure that that's even approved by terms and conditions of actual spaces. So I would make sure we go through the terms and conditions before you start saying that, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. We'll, if anybody wants to go and read through the terms and conditions and get back to me on that one, go ahead. But they started, like I said, with about 300 beta. Is that how we say it? Beta testers?
That's the one.
That's the one. And now it's started to roll out to a few more people, and Melanie and myself have been privileged enough to be included as a beta tester.
Okay, she's trying to avoid saying it, but she got it before me, okay?
I did. I was by about a week.
Ooh.
But in fairness, Melanie got Clubhouse before me, so, we're sort of even. But how would you sum up the differences between Clubhouse and Spaces? Because in all honesty, I mean, they're pretty similar. They've got the same functionality. It's a speak-only room with people talking.
Yeah. I mean, there are a great deal of similarities, but one thing that's become very apparent, certainly when I was doing this troubleshooting with Margaret Molloy, is you can only have one moderator, and that's the host. And that could be a real pain if you've got numerous speakers coming up and down, and you've got a large audience that wants to participate. And, you're trying to keep the conversation flowing as well. So it might even be worthy, having one person managing the background. So it's not actually the physical host of the event, but it could be a member of your staff or your team who will look after the machinations in the background so that the presenter of one of these talks can actually concentrate on, engaging the audience, bringing people up and down. But obviously it will be the member of staff or the team member that will be able to actually do the maneuvering. Because I think trying to talk and engage and also do all of this might be a bit hard going.
Yeah, for some people for sure. But like you were saying, there's also whenever you do invite someone up, there's that other bug or functionality. And maybe it's not a bug, maybe it's just the way Twitter has done it, that if you have invited someone up to speak and they take themselves back down to the audience, they can come back up at any time without getting permission again from the host.
So that could be a bit of a pain, especially if you've got people coming up and down. Like on Clubhouse, you've got people coming up and down on the stage, but once they're down from the stage, they can't come back up unless they put their hand up.
Yeah.
Or a request is sent to them.
Yeah.
But that's not the case at the moment. But that could just be a glitch. It's still very, very early days. And one thing I have noticed doing spaces with yourself and with other people, asking people to come up as a speaker or requesting yourself to speak, it's quite slow, quite clunky.
Yeah. You do need to have the most up-to-date version of the app.
Yeah.
And it is just a matter of, waiting. We did notice the other day too, that whenever I went back down from the audience or from the stage in Spaces, I could, there was a delay. There was the delay in the audio. I could still hear myself on stage when I was down in the audience. That was not a fun experience. But one of the good things that they do have is that anybody, whether you're a listener or whether you're a speaker, you have the ability to send emojis. So you can send a clap, you can send a wave, you can send a 100 symbol. Those things, you can't have that option in Clubhouse, and it's a little more interactive that way for the listeners to be able to give that feedback. And that, it would sort of be like on Clubhouse with the clapping with the mic on and off, but only speakers can do that. Only those that are in the speaking section can do that. Now, another thing to remember would be Twitter Spaces will only be seen by your followers. So if people aren't following you, they won't see your space and they won't be able to go into your space to listen to you or to request to speak. So it's obviously better for those that have more followers, like Melanie, as opposed to myself, who has slightly less, but do come follow me. Subtle. But if you are on Clubhouse, then you can make a whole new audience. You can, meet new people and raise your audience and your profile that way, and they can come over to Twitter and follow you there and get, gain different, more followers that way. So those would be some of the pros and cons that I would see personally between Spaces and Clubhouse.
And I would see, I was actually asked on Friday in Clubhouse, actually, which one would I prefer? Now, I've got a lot more knowledge of Clubhouse, in fairness, than Spaces. But what I actually do prefer about Spaces is, as you say, it's people have to follow you to see it. And okay, some people have a much larger audience than others. But I've kind of already got that rapport and relationship with people because they follow me. You know?
Yeah.
Whereas, and I may not have connected with them fully. I don't really know them that well. Whereas in Clubhouse, it can be just as worldwide, but there's so many weird and crazy rooms in there.
There are. But you could also be following some weird and crazy people as well, So there's the pros and the cons to both. Maybe we'll do an episode sometime, Melanie, of like a face-off. A fight between the two, and we'll get some experts in that
sounds good,
that have more knowledge and have been on each of those platforms longer. And I mean, these are brand new platforms, or these are brand new places that you can use. And like I said, it is an advantage now that Spaces, here's me getting them confused. Now you can tell which one's my favorite. That Spaces has the ability now for all audiences, whether you're Android or iOS, to listen in.
Yes.
That is a major plus, because that's one thing that people have always complained about. Well, always, been less than a year, have complained about on Clubhouse. So let us know what your favorite is. If you're an iOS user, have you got both of these platforms? Are you using them? Are you able to go in and host your own rooms or spaces? What do you prefer? With the terminology, it can get really confusing, but let us know in the comments, and we would love to hear your opinion.
Okay, well, that's all for now. We'll speak to you next week.
Have fun, guys. Bye.